Yep, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Silver wins for the end of the trading week. I'm going to explain why I'm so happy about silver as we explore. Silver is actually down a couple of cents today. So why am I calling for a victory celebration? Well, it's because it stayed above $38 an ounce, or right around there, and we did not see a Friday smackdown like we usually do. There's some reasons why this is occurring. I'm going to get into those in a moment, but I'm going to thank channel sponsor Summit Metals. They've got a great selection, excellent customer service, and fast shipping, so check them out at summitmetals.com. So here's where the metals complex is right now, moments before the markets close here on this Friday. Gold is up $1.10 to $3,337.50. And that's a 0.03% increase. Silver, though, is down almost 0.1% right now, down 4 cents, but in the ask price, it is above $38. It is at $38.01. Now, the bid price is lower, and if you use that metric, we're back in the $37 range. So it's really barely hanging on here, but nonetheless, there was no smackdown today, which is good news. Although earlier in the day, it did reach down to $37.61. It also got up as high as $38.15. So again, that leaves credence to what's happening there, especially considering that platinum and palladium, they fell. They fell pretty hard today. Platinum fell $23, down 1.69% to $1,345. Palladium fell over 2.3% today, down $27 to $1,137. So silver, in a sense, is getting pulled down by platinum and palladium to a degree, but it didn't get hit nearly as hard now as it's still resting above $38 moments before the markets close. Now, FX Street has two pieces I'm going to be referring to about what happened today. We're seeing silver kind of flatline around this $38 as traders really are kind of indecisive. They're really non-committed right now. Silver attracts some dip buying during the Asian session on Friday and stalls the previous day's retracement slide from the $38.70 to 75-cent area, or a 3-week high. It has climbed back above $38 in the last hour or so, and though it does lack some bullish conviction in late trading here. It continues to show some resilience below the 200-hour simple moving average and rebounds from the vicinity to a nearly 2-week-old ascending channel support. So mixed oscillators of the hour daily charts warrant some caution before placing fresh bullish bets around this silver commodity and monetary metal as well, and resumption in the recent uptrend from the daily lows. So any move to the upside is more likely to confront stiff resistance near the $38.20 area. So that is something we're looking at as we head into the next trading session next week here. So we'll keep an eye on that. The next one is another piece from FX Street, and this is the silver price forecast range bound near $38 as we eye on geopolitics with the Trump-Putin talks. Silver is attempting to a mild recovery that we saw earlier in the day after sliding into a 4-day low of $37.69. The rebound comes amid some softness in the U.S. dollar, which is losing traction following mixed U.S. economic data this week. They're digesting that data. The CPI numbers were good. The PPI numbers were bad. And so if we take a look and see what the dollar index is doing, indeed it is down, and usually when it's down, silver and gold go up. Well, gold did go up slightly, but the U.S. dollar index is down enough now that silver should be trading up, but it is following platinum and palladium. It is at 97.83, which just goes to show you that the dollar index is not always an indicator of where the precious metals are going to go, especially silver, as they called it a commodity at this point. So it is trading somewhat like a commodity. It's being pushed and pulled as a monetary metal versus an industrial metal. And that's what we're seeing today happen in the markets. And so we see that it's trading now the psychological mark. $38 is a strong psychological mark, and we're seeing the ask prices, which is what people look at the most. So I think really that is kind of the indicator, even though a lot of the charting hovers using the bid price. So again, there's 12 cents worth of difference between the two metals. Usually there's 10 cents, but it's been trading at that larger spread for a while now. That has, in a sense, become the new normal. So we're seeing what's going to happen, as right now there are talks happening between Trump and Putin in Alaska, and these talks are unlikely to produce a breakthrough. The high-profile meeting adds a layer of uncertainty to global markets and could trigger safe haven flows. So silver's reaction has been limited so far. There's a lot of unknowns. If there is some promise that comes, or some, promising progress about these talks, then that means a second meeting could be set up. That would be good, and I think that would be bad for precious metals. But nonetheless, if these talks end soon, then all bets are off the table. We don't know what the outcome is going to be yet. So despite the modest rebound that we saw earlier in the day, with bulls struggling to regain control above the short-term moving average, the broader structure appears range-bound, with sellers defending the $38.10 area, and the buyers stepping in near $37.50. So I think we're going to see silver remain, unless there's some major breakthrough, or I think if the second meeting is going to be scheduled, then I think that's going to hold out some promise, and I think we'll see it range bound to dip back below $38 next week. But ending the week above $38, or right at just under $38, is a victory. And I know I'm just one person. I'm not a professional analyst or anything like that, but I think anytime you can see silver maintain an area where it has been trading after a big gain, especially after a Friday and what we saw yesterday, that's good news. So I'm officially declaring victory for myself for silver in terms of its price, but the fundamentals remain true no matter what happens geopolitically and economically. Silver will and has preserved your wealth over the long course of time. That's what it's about. It's about wealth preservation over the long course of time. And that's really the bottom line about what it is and what it has done. Because one thing is for sure, this thing is still inflating, which means it's losing value. When somebody is beat up, they swell up. And if you think about the dollar getting beat up by what the Federal Reserve is doing on account of government spending, and that really puts it in perspective. That means that it's getting beat up, being swelled up, and somebody that's swelled up and hurting, they're much less effective than when they're not. That swelling up is inflation, and that kind of inflation, that kind of swelling, is something that we're seeing happen to the dollar right now. Now, unfortunately, the dollar is not seen anything other than being lackluster in performance and a slowly losing store of value is what we're seeing with the dollar. And that has been the case since 1913, the inception of the Federal Reserve Act on December the 23rd of that year. Why do I mention that so often? Because the bill was passed after much debate in the right at Christmas, when nobody was paying attention. That's right. And that's exactly what happens with some of these bills. And it got worse with riders and on other legislation that just made it all the more worse. They essentially got what they want through a lot of resistance leading up to it. That tends to what happens with some of these larger bills, and that go through with all of these extra little bits and pieces there. So very interesting indeed. So that's what we're dealing with in the metals complex with silver specifically. But nonetheless, the fact that we measure our wealth in ounces, not in dollars, makes it all the more likely that we're not going to be affected too much by what the price does at any given point in time. Price is important, as I mentioned before. Price is important. When you go to sell your metal, you're going to want to get the best price you can for it. No question about that. But holding on through those times, and so that you don't have to sell and take a loss, is paramount. that means, yep, you're gonna have to work in the confines of the fiat currency system from which we find ourselves apart, so that you can have this as an insurance policy to protect yourself against having to liquidate the ultimate insurance policy. That's right. And so the ups and downs of the market will continue. And like I've recently said, I'm going to be saying it more often, the road to wealth preservation is not paved. That's right. It is essentially uncharted territory. It is a dirt and bumpy gravel road. There's going to be just some dust you're going to be kicking up in between now and then. You're going to hit some potholes, and that's the way the market is. But we tough it out through that. We have to have a 4x4. We've got to have a vehicle that can take that. So that's what it's about. So I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.